Hello, and welcome to Ridgeview Drive. It's much like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, except I hate all my neighbors. Go away, Bill! It's not 10 yet! I can play the music as loud as I want!
And there's a crack dealer on the end of the street.
Anyway, with all that aside, I'm your host, Jared, and I have with me today Charles of Low Level Boss. So we just saw Phantom Thread.
Yeah, I guess overall, starting off, I enjoyed it. Good artsy film.
Yeah, so, for the first half of the film, I was really enjoying it. Towards the halfway point, there was some plot points that I wasn't sure how I felt. And at the end of it, I decided that I ended up enjoying the whole thing.
Okay, so a bit of a roller coaster ride for you.
Yeah, I would say so.
Mine was kind of like I don't know if it was like some of the trailers that kind of threw me off in the beginning where I was like, oh, I'm not interested in that movie, and I think it might have put me in kind of like a negative mood because I was really kind of harshing on the movie at first. I'm like, I'm trying not to harsh on it, just trying to watch it and enjoy it.
Right.
There was some kind of like audio issues, I thought.
Really?
Most people might not notice it or not even care or even think it's an issue. But there was just like these small little details that were kind of like throwing me off. But then once things kind of picked up a little bit in the story and like the characters are established, you kind of get the motivations. Then that's when I started to really like the film a lot more than that, or than I first started,
Right. Yeah. It's interesting that you said that because that one of the things that I actually really appreciated about the movie, especially around the parts where I wasn't sure how much I liked the plot. Mm-hmm. Around those parts, I still very much enjoyed the filmmaking, including what stood out to me was the sound design. So it's interesting that you had some problems with the sound when I was really enjoying the sound design.
Well, here's where it gets a little meta for me. I think the audio was done that way because the character has an issue with sound. People being a little bit too loud, eating noisily. I have the same issues.
Oh, so you're not saying that the sound itself there was something wrong with it. It's because it was becoming an annoyance for yourself.
Yeah, I think it was on purpose. That's why I was like,
absolutely.
I couldn't tell if it was a mistake. Because in the beginning, it seemed like it was a lot quieter, like how people talked, and they talked really softly. Uh-huh. And it felt like they kind of ramped it up. Some parts did seem like an error, where as soon as, like, especially Daniel Day-Lewis's character, he's just very soft-spoken.
Right.
When he would start talking, it sounded like there was like a background audio, like some noise, or just the ruffling of his clothes, like when you're like hooking the people up on lavalier mics.
Oh,
and
right.
so that just felt very distracting to me. But then once I started to realize, well, the character, he's annoyed by sound. Are they trying to make it like he's soft and it's intimate? Was that a mistake that they were picking up the clothes too much? Because it did feel like they were picking up the clothes more than I thought that they wanted to. But then again, they were also picking up, which I did appreciate, was like if people are eating at a table, there's noises on the table and stuff, and you kind of miss that in a lot of movies, and in other movies it sounds too sterile. So this one, it was kind of a give and take.
It was, and I would say if you were ever to rewatch it, really listen for the Foley because it's throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
The sound is everywhere, but they do it very particularly in certain spots to catch your attention, and there's something there, that there's a reason that's so loud.
Yeah. So when I started noticing that, I'm like, okay, they're trying to do something on purpose. And you can get, right off the bat, you can kind of get that too. And then once I realized the character has a problem with sound, and I was starting to associate myself with this character, who you kind of get the vibes is he's a very particular guy. He's not a bad guy, but he kind of comes off as bad.
Right.
But that's just his personality. He's very particular. He's a people really like his his fashion sense, his designs of his dresses. So he needs everything done in a very particular way, kind of deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so he comes off as very stubborn, and so, which I thought was great because I thought Daniel Day-Lewis played that perfectly. I've been around people like that before, and it seemed just legit.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, like that was the only issue I was having on a technical kind of level. The performances, I thought there was nothing that was like, oh, they're bad. No, they. Everything seemed to fit into place.
There's one, I don't know, the drunk lady. I don't know if her acting was a little over the top or if it was perfect.
Oh, sure.
Because it was definitely, obviously, she was supposed to be drunk, you know, and maybe. So I don't know if that was over the top or not.
Yeah. At first, I thought she just had something wrong with her. I'm like, oh, because at first she has like this look like she's just real happy and she's not standing up straight. Somebody kind of has to hold her. So I didn't know if she was just like a rich person that was going through dementia or something. Like, oh, that actually interested me because I was like, oh, they're doing something to this character that's noticeable but not over the top at the beginning at least.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, okay, that kind of actually interests me because I want to see what happens with that character. Oh, what I will say that did bug me in the beginning that kind of threw me off was. This is a very high art film. It's very deliberate and stuff like that. But how the people kind of talked in the beginning, they would talk, have a break, and then someone would talk, and then break, and then talk. And it felt like the flow of what they were saying was a little too, I don't want to say slow, but disjointed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I understand, well, because they were trying to go for like an intimate, kind of slow, quiet kind of appeal to it. And so at first, I'm still kind of unsure about it, like if it's too pretentious or anything.
Well, could it have just been them trying to go for the, you know, the way that, you know, wealthy people at that time period in that place would possibly talk?
I think that's what they were trying to do. They're trying to really make these people talking back and forth classy. Even though one of them, she was like a waitress. I guess she should have been classy because during that time. Where does this take place? Is it like Paris? Is it London?
It's London.
Okay.
It's 1950s London, right after World War II.
Okay. Yeah, and so the characters are very British. They're they're very
very,
proper.
very British.
Because this is they're British and they're socialites. That's what they do. They socialize and, you know, make dresses and stuff. Yeah. And so it's like I didn't know if that was just my bias towards like really fancy people and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
But as it went along, it felt like that wasn't happening as much. Or maybe since it was just established as these are the characters, maybe I just accepted it more, you know? Maybe it just took like a little bit to get into. Because at one point, I remember just like I stopped like kind of bagging on that kind of stuff. And I was just like, oh, hey, I'm just enjoying it now. Cool. And so that's when it did the switch.
Oh, okay, I see.
That was probably pretty quick in. Probably, 30 minutes to 45 minutes in where I really did a hard switch where I was just wanting to know what happens to these characters.
Right, yeah. It's funny because it was that first part where I was really enjoying it up until around the halfway point where I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, even through there, I was enjoying it. I just wasn't sure how I felt about the situation that was happening.
Yeah, because at first there was no real conflict.
Yeah.
If there was, there was tiny, just like a little bit. But
I mean, it was there. I mean, it's building the whole time,
Yeah.
kind of in the background.
Yeah. So for me,
and if you watch it again, you pick up on all what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, it was like once it picked up enough, I was like, okay, I can see like, okay, there's this drama here. How is this going to unfold? What's going to happen? Because it's interesting kind of drama. It's not like a typical like romance story or anything like that. And that's why by the end of this movie, I did enjoy it. Was it's not like, oh, they're together and what's going to happen? It was just like, no, this is actually an interesting dynamic between these two people.
Yeah.
It's not something you see. It's, in my opinion, not very constructive, but it actually could be because they found their dynamics work against and work with each other in weird ways. And so it was just like, okay, this is a cool character study, if nothing else.
Whether or not that's healthy is another question.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, I guess we'll get into it later on in this review discussion, whatever you want to call it. Is it healthy? Because they, it kind of starts to. I don't know how to say it without spoiling.
Well, like I definitely don't want to get into too much because I really feel this is a movie you need to go in blind. Did you notice, at least for me, maybe more at the beginning than the end, but did it to you feel almost like you were actually watching a movie that was made 50 years ago? I felt like it had some old-fashioned ways, and with they definitely used a misting machine. So I wonder if that had anything to do with that.
Oh, are you talking about the pacing, or are you talking about the actual cinematography?
The cinematography and just the general look and feel of it.
I didn't get that kind of vibes. I know what you're saying though, because actually looking at it, this movie is well lit because I didn't notice the lighting at all. It was just good.
Oh yeah. I wonder if the fog or mist machine almost kind of simulates a film grain, if that makes any sense.
Well, if you're talking about like how the shadows aren't completely like black, they're not completely zeroed.
Well, not even that. Just like you could just get a general feel of like a kind of a haziness throughout the whole thing.
Well, you can get that kind of look with the film, and I don't know. Yeah, it just this movie looked good. It had atmosphere to it. Quite literally, the look of it had atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure every single shot had a fog machine in it.
Maybe.
Like I couldn't tell for the first watch, but the second watching, I could even see it drifting and everything.
Oh, okay.
But that didn't take away from the experience at all. In fact, it made me enjoy the movie more. Maybe more from a filmmaking standpoint. I don't know.
Well, see, I didn't even notice that at first, or I just didn't notice that at all. So if I go to see it again, I'll look for it specifically. But that just means like they did it so subtly that it's not like, oh, there's a fog machine there.
Right.
That's one thing I really appreciate.
Oh, that's the idea of using, I think it's called a mist machine as opposed to a fog machine. Even though you could use a fog machine to get the same effect, it's just it's a little bit more difficult to do it.
You manually thin it out and let it.
Really get it really, really thin, so just the light is bouncing off of everything.
Yeah, I would love to do that more because that just makes even like a filming at in like a blank corner of a room a lot just better looking.
Yeah. It also gives a little bit of a dreamlike quality to it.
Yeah. When you said like, does this feel like an older movie? I wasn't thinking about cinematography. I was thinking pacing, like a slow pacing. Everything's kind of deliberate.
Yeah, not necessarily that.
You don't have music playing all the time, and when it's there, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I mean, even like the one part where he's driving his car, the way that the camera is mounted, it looked like older style. The way that, like, it's bumping around with the car.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I didn't have an opinion of it.
It may have also just been because it's an old style car, and I'm just...
Well, you're kind of selling it on me, because if they would have mounted it... Because they had a shot where he's driving, and it's mounted from the back. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. In a newer kind of movie, it would be mounted so solidly that the car would stay perfect in frame, and that always throws me off. I have a hard time liking that. This one was bouncy, and I noticed it, and I think I was actually kind of enjoying that. It was just like, oh, it's just
I really liked that.
A different way of like it's breaking the rules in a way, in an appropriate way.
Yeah, there was one moment, one of the car moments that maybe broke the fourth wall just a little bit for me. Was the camera looking inwards from the front, and as the car is driving by, everything around the car is being lit up.
Oh yeah.
But it's on the sides of the car, not the front.
Sides and back a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my first viewing, I didn't even notice that, and the second viewing, I noticed it, but it still looked really good.
I will say something. You remind me of that because I did notice it at the time. I totally forgot about it, and it did seem like I guess that's how the headlights would have this fall off behind and kind of go back a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was a little bit noticeable. Like, oh, they're specifically lighting up the sides so you can kind of get more of the environment.
Right.
So I guess that was the only time I noticed lighting. Because if the people watching this haven't seen any of my stuff before, I've done like a lot of photography and a little bit of cinematography stuff. I'm not great. I'm getting better, but so I see that stuff a little like quickly. Because there's been times where you and I watch something, I'm like, I didn't like it because these lighting things or whatever. You're like, oh, I didn't notice.
Right.
And if you were to watch again, you would have noticed it immediately. And I think now that you've been like really focusing on lighting stuff, you notice that stuff too, just like that car scene.
Yeah, oh, definitely. That, and like I said, the sound design. Like I watched it with my mom the other day, and I had mentioned that I really liked the sound design. She's like, yeah, see, that's not even something I would have noticed. Like there's one scene where they're talking, and not only is there a TV playing in the background, but there's also this kind of eerie music playing. And all of it together, I was just really enjoying the scene.
Yeah. The sound design was really good in very subtle ways, because there's stuff like most people probably don't care about it, but like I was saying, when they're at a table, you can hear when they move something, it moves. Like a lot of people probably don't care for that, but I did, because like I notice that in movies now is all you hear is their voice and that's it. And if they're moving something, it has to be something like they're purposely put in a sound because they hit something, they're trying to bring your attention to that, rather than just adding this little bit of ambiance to it.
Ambiance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this movie does subtle stuff very well, to say the least.
Yes. One of my favorite things that movies do, or better movies do, like a lot of times you'll use sound cues and music to highlight something. My favorite is when they use silence to highlight something.
Oh yeah.
I love it when movies do that.
Well, because that takes so much talent to do that properly.
Yeah.
So when it's done properly, you're like, oh my god, this is like a rare commodity, and you just kind of eat it up. Like I guess a movie kind of like in a similar fashion, sort of, a totally different theme is No Country for Old Men. That one's a good, like, if no, people haven't seen it, if you want something where they deliberately left out a lot of sounds and it's perfect, like that movie has like no music, just ambient sounds. Yeah, and it's just like it's kind of weird because you're not used to a quiet movie like that. You're used to having like a song kick in, or even just like an orchestra, like something made for the movie happen, and then that movie doesn't have it, and this one doesn't either. And so it's just really enjoyable when it's actually like you're just focused on the characters, not these little tricks and smoke and mirrors and stuff.
So did you want to go ahead and get into the recommendations before the spoilers?
Yeah, I think we're kind of we're talking vague and just like the mechanics of the movie, and I want to talk about like the actual character development. So
Yeah.
My recommendation is if you do like slow, kind of well thought out movies, I think you'll enjoy this. If you've watched anything with Daniel Day-Lewis, you'll probably enjoy it just for that alone, and then the other stuff will be just kind of like icing on the cake.
If you like, just a movie for good acting or good filmmaking. But if you go to the movies just to see popcorn movies, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, I love
this
popcorn movies.
probably isn't the movie for you if that's all you really like going to the
Yeah,
movies for,
this one is a slow burn. I love slow burn movies.
Yeah, same here.
And so this movie's what, I think we were looking at 2.5 hours.
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, if you're not very patient with movies, if you're like, I just want something kind of not shallow, but just
Explosion?
yeah, with a couple explosions, some actions, or just like some high intense kind of moments, you're probably not gonna like this at all.
Yeah.
If you like drama between people, this is probably one of the best because it is actually a unique dynamic between the characters.
Would someone who likes rom-coms and chick flicks like this?
I think so. It's
Yeah.
if you're
It is definitely a romance with a twist.
yeah. No, this one is not like dour. I didn't feel depressed. It's just a good.
Oh no.
It's a good like
Yeah.
romance story, and it feels more real than the other ones, because the other ones are meant to be like the popcorn equivalent of the romance stuff. This one's not.
Yeah.
I think they would enjoy it. And so now, just complete spoilers.
Yeah, so if this is the type of movie that seems like you might want to see, then just go ahead and turn off the video right now and go see it. It's a great movie. It's a good film. You should probably enjoy it. And when it's over, make sure to come back and watch the end of this video because I'm should be worth it. So this is your warning. 3, 2, 1. Spoiler territory. So the first half, I'm not a chick flick fan. I don't really care for rom-coms. I just don't really care for romance, but I enjoyed it for that first half, the initial, romantic beginnings. I enjoyed it maybe mostly for the filmmaking and everything. And then in the middle, the part where I wasn't so sure how I felt is because she fucking poisons him.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
It makes sense because it's established that when he's sick, he becomes, instead of being stubborn,
Tender.
I keep using tender. He's just very docile and he's very loving, and there's a lot of allusions to him missing his mother, and that's what I was getting, was like he reverts back to being a child that needs to be taken care of.
I didn't think about that.
That's what I kind of got. It's not overt, which is good, but that's what I kind of got. What his motivations as a character was all of a sudden his mom's back and he's being taken care of, and he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be responsible for making dresses. He doesn't have to be this businessman, essentially taking care of a household of employees and his assistant and stuff. Now he's the one being taken care of. Even though he's pampered all the time, this one is an intimate taken care of. Like, she's cuddling him, she's feeding him, and making him feel better. Because like it's shown, like he gets exhausted, like he gets sickness from being exhausted, and he
he works himself into sickness.
Yeah. And so she tries to manufacture that, and it's established she forages for some like mushrooms to make him some food and stuff, and she finds mildly, I guess more than mildly poisonous mushrooms that just make you sick. They won't kill you.
Yeah.
And she grinds it up and puts it in his tea.
Yeah. And the reason why I wasn't sure how I felt, because it just goes back to normal. It just goes back to the romance story it was before.
Oh,
and I'm like, wait, am I just supposed to ignore that?
Oh, so you thought they were just going to move away from that? Like it was just a one-time thing?
I really didn't know. For one, I was like, maybe that was a red herring. Maybe she didn't actually poison him and he just got sick. You know, I really wasn't sure. It just seemed so kind of out of nowhere and then went back to normal. Because, like, the thing is, he's like a loving person, but after a while, it's almost like he gets bored and becomes cold.
Yeah, very jaded. He's a very jaded guy.
Remember at the beginning with his original or ex-girlfriend or whatever, and she's like, "Is there anything I could do to get you to notice me?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, her mistake was, and it's of course it's not her fault, but she needed to what is the main character's name?
I'm bad with the names.
I know it starts with an A, but she like somehow she doesn't give up. She's constantly doing things to get his attention. Where the other one, it was like she just kind of gave up. She didn't know what to do, and the main character, she's tenacious and she's like, yeah, he doesn't like his breakfast being ruined, but he's being a baby, you know. I'm gonna keep being me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that's why he continuously does kind of fall for her, because she keeps breaking him. She keeps breaking his motive, or what do you call it?
Well, yeah, I know you're getting at. The character's name is Alma, by the way.
Alma.
Yeah, it's like she has a strength. She's like, I'm gonna keep doing this, and I think it's kind of like a respect, almost.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like that dynamic where maybe the previous girlfriend, he didn't really like. Oh, he doesn't care, but this girl keeps doing it, and it keeps doing it in a way that's.
So she's always on the forefront of his mind.
Again, motherly. Like, oh, he's being a big baby.
Yes.
He needs to be broken of it, and so that's what I got. That's why I keep seeing these themes of motherhood, and
yeah.
So she's giving him the tough love treatment, and he's kind of, in a weird way, like appreciating that.
Yeah.
And like you see throughout the film that whenever she does it, the next day he can't really concentrate on his work. She's gotten to his head.
Yeah.
And like where the other, like maybe his previous relationships, why he never got married, because he never really loved them. He said he doesn't want to ever get married because he feels that he's being dishonest. And this is the first person to come into his life that is legitimately pushing to be in his life, and he's seeing that. And so when they later on like get married and stuff, he, you know, it's legitimately he wants to marry her because blah blah blah, you know, some reasons I've just said. I don't want to keep repeating myself.
It's also interesting in the way that during the dinner scene, when she's just so confused, she doesn't know why he's like how he is, and I'm sitting there. I guess it's because I've known people like that who have to have everything in their place and a place for everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, really, you've never met anybody like that before? Sometimes that's just how people are, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people like that necessarily need to be broken, but I guess if that's what's needed in order to be in their life.
Yeah, when we were talking about like is this a healthy relationship, it's like, well, yes and no.
Well, like especially the middle part, I'm like, well, obviously this is not a fucking healthy relationship because it's very one-sided.
One's poisoning the other. Of course it's not
one's
healthy.
literally poisoning the other. That's not healthy, you know. And I don't mean physically I mean, it's not physically healthy, but it's also not. When people say a healthy or non-healthy relationship, that's the definition of an unhealthy relationship.
There was this, like a couple scenes where you look at Alma and she's got like this cold, like killer look on her face.
Yeah.
Like when she's made the decision of like, yeah, I'm gonna poison him again. Like
I didn't even realize she was a really good actress just for her facial expressions.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning of the movie when she's constantly smiling, she looks like she's genuinely happy. and then when she's at the dinner scene and she's yelling and she's got tears running down her face.
Oh, and she's all slouched, like her posture's gone. Like that's what I noticed was like, because throughout it, like these people are wearing nice fancy clothing, they're all sitting up straight, and that point she's kind of got this like she's like slunched down, kind of like oh my god, I gotta keep doing this kind of thing. Like I don't know, it was just very realistic. It wasn't overdone, I thought.
But so, I guess to say the reason, honestly, it wasn't. I didn't realize. I wasn't sure how I felt about the plot, even though I was really enjoying the filmmaking throughout the whole thing. But I wasn't sure about the plot until the very, very end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when she's doing it again. She's giving him the poisonous mushrooms again.
I thought.
But this time, while he's. Oh,
I thought she was gonna kill him.
I really didn't know. That whole scene was just amazing, I think. The lighting, the atmosphere.
Are you talking about like when they're in this like a little shack kind of looking, or like a comfy kind of home where like the lighting's all really dim? I don't know where that was. If that was like a...
I think it was just the kitchen of the house, but I don't know for sure.
Well, I don't know. It looked cool.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. I thought it was really well done. But when she's making him the omelet, right?
Yeah, because...
With the poisoned mushrooms.
It was established before she used a little bit on the tea, and this one she's cutting up whole mushrooms and putting it straight into his omelet. And you get the idea that he kind of knows what's going on a little bit.
Yeah, you're almost sure of it. You're like, he knows at this point, right? Because the looks on his face, like it's like he's figuring something out. But then he like deliberately cuts a piece out of the omelet and like very deliberately like shows, I'm about to take a bite. You know.
And, yeah.
I was like, wait, does he know that she's about to kill him and he doesn't care or what? What?
Yeah, and she looks at him and she's like, I want you flat on your back, sick for days or whatever, and like something like that. And that's when he swallows the
like he
the
just
omelet.
and even at that point I'm like, so that means he knows and he wants to what? And then his line.
Yeah. What do you know what he said? Do you remember what he said?
Kiss me before I get sick. Or it might have been something like, maybe it's not the right lingo for the time, but like, kiss me, baby. It couldn't have been that because I don't think that's the right lingo for the time, but something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it was really close to like, kiss me before I get sick. And I was just like, that is the most badass line, like in any romance movie.
Right? And then that's the point where I'm like, this is still an extremely unhealthy relationship, but at least now it's not one-sided.
And the next scene, it's like years down the line, they have a kid and stuff, and they're happy as could be.
You know, I'm not even sure if that actually happens. She's during that monologue, she says, sometimes I look into the future, like
oh, yeah.
I'm wondering if that was just her imagining the future. I don't know. I think after that point, it's kind of one of those left to your imagination type things, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to tell, because... it's established in the movie she's talking to somebody else and kind of explaining what happened somewhat. They use it very, very like little. And
they do it in such a way, it's like you're almost wondering, is she talking to the cop after she murders him?
That's
you know?
what I thought.
But it's the doctor, by the way.
Yeah.
So, like, who knows? Maybe he did die at that time and she's confessing to the doctor or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess that could be the open anything. Because, as soon as I established that's the doctor, and I looked at her clothing and it was like darker clothing, I'm like, did he die? Is that what they're trying to imply there? And,
Well, she even says, if he dies, he'll just be on the other side waiting for me. I'm like, Jesus Christ. She's not all there.
Yeah, but neither is he, and they love each other, so it's like...
They almost are perfect for each other.
It might be unhealthy, but hey, they found each other, man.
Right?
So it's like that's what I appreciate about this movie, because there's always the romance, like, oh, they finally get together in the end, or they don't, and it's just like they appreciate themselves more or something like that. This one is just like, okay, was not expecting that.
There was another quote in this movie that I just fucking loved, but I don't remember it 100%, but what is it? It's like there is a stench of death in this house, and I don't like the way it's... Oh, God, it was so much better than that.
Was, it's like there's a quiet air of death in this house, and I don't like the way it smells.
That's it.
Something like that.
I loved that line. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And it was towards the end, like right before.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis, because that could have sounded really horrible.
Oh
But
yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis, you give him a line, he'll make it sound good, man.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh, that would have sounded awful from someone trying too
I think
hard. You know.
I think the best one was like in what is that one with the oil company?
There Will Be
There
Blood.
Will Be Blood. When he's talking to the guy that's now a priest, or now, yeah, he's now a priest, and he's like, I put my straw in your milkshake and I drink it up. Like, that could have been a cheesy line.
I know.
And that line when he says it is so scary because you can tell he's a psychopath, sociopath, whatever.
Right.
And he's just insane at that point. You're like, oh, okay.
I can't believe that's the same actor. He looks so different, and he acts so differently.
It's just his mannerisms, because he doesn't physically look that different, but he can change him.
Yeah.
That's a mark of a good actor, is he just changes himself. Because this one, he's very proper, withdrawn, quiet. I like things done this way. I like my routine because I get things done and I don't have distractions. And you waste a minute of my time, I'm gonna yell at you for that minute.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It was just great performances all around too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you look at the little like an outline of what happens in this movie, it's really not a lot. It's very simple in the way, like, I don't know, the events that happen.
Yeah.
But everything's done deliberately. This is a long movie, but it doesn't feel that long. I was starting to get there at the end. I was starting to feel a little bit of the length, but the movie kind of quit out right when I got there, and I was like, okay, perfect. That means it's probably perfect pacing then.
You know what confused me? The New Year's scene. Maybe that was the idea. Maybe it was supposed to throw us in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sitting here going, oh, that's nice. He's going to go find her and have fun with her at the party. But he just goes and finds her and takes her home. I was like, oh, what was that all about? It was kind of a dick move.
Well, yeah, but I think that was appropriate, because I noticed that too, because there's a moment where, because he goes there, she's like, I want to go to a party, because he doesn't take her out anywhere. He just stays home working. And so he goes out and finds her. And the cheesy thing would have been like if he would have hung out with her and danced with her or something. What he did is he made the effort of going there, but then he's still the same person, and so he takes her back home. And so it was like that kind of like was a soft way of him kind of like doing what she wants to do in a way, but he's still himself. And so I thought that was actually very appropriate in like how he acted.
That was one of those cases though where they're at that party and they're looking at each other. One of those cases where the acting is literally just coming through the looks on their faces.
The looks, it's quiet. It was quiet, right?
Well, no, it was a quiet in a sense. The party's going on in the background, but maybe it was hushed a little bit.
Oh,
I don't remember.
It feels quiet because they make it look more intimate between it's like it's almost between just them two and nothing else matters kind of thing. But there's a lot going on. There's a party going on.
I mean, you could hear the party. It's just, it's not overbearing, I guess. And but between them, there's nothing being said. Because they probably couldn't even hear each other anyway because the party is so loud. And it was almost like there was a conversation happening between them, but just not out loud.
Yeah, because they're just staring at each other, like so intensely.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for checking out our review and analysis of Phantom Thread. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider liking, subscribing, and checking out Charles' channel, Low Level Boss. Alright, I'll see you guys next time on Ridgeview Drive.